Ice Locked here with Nocturne Gaming, back with more Legends of Idleon, and today we're taking a look at the Glowshroom tunnels in the hole. So let's get started with the Harp and Cavern 6. This is the first cavern in the Glowshroom tunnels, and it is another resource generation cavern, very similar to the Well and Cavern 1. The main purpose of this is unlocking schematics from the engineer and upgrading the measurement bonuses, as well as upgrading the harp itself. So at this point, the first thing we're paying attention to is harp power. When you initially start out, harp power is generated at a rate of 5% harp power every 1.5 minutes for a total of 100% harp power every 30 minutes. Now, this does decrease over time as you level up the E string when you unlock it from the engineer, as one of the bonuses is to decrease the harp, the rate that the harp power is generated. So the next thing we pay attention to is the notes itself. Now we have two indicators of the notes. The first is tuned to which note, and then the second is the indicators at the top, which shows how many of a particular resource you have. So for this, this note, we currently have 5.4 million. For the next, we have 1.38 million. But you're basically selecting which note you want to tune the harp to generate that resource if you have the right string selected, which we'll talk about in just a minute. The next thing that we have is I teach note if you give me blah. This is going to start out at the very beginning with the very first note. Give me a few hundred of this note, I teach you the next note, and so on and so forth. This allows you to basically continue unlocking new resources to generate with the harp. Currently, we have 8 of the notes generated. I haven't needed to generate any of the green note yet, but eventually, well, I believe there are 10 notes in total for this as well. Next up, we have the adjust string button, which we'll talk about in just a minute, as that's a little more complicated. And then we also have total opals found on the right-hand side of the screen. Opals are found using the D string, which we'll talk about when we're adjusting our strings. We've already talked about notes are shown at the top, and the next thing is the strings themselves. Initially, you're going to start out with just a couple of strings, and you're only basically every string that you strum is going to give you a benefit in 2 ways. One is it's going to generate notes if you have the proper string selected. The second is it's going to give you experience to the string that you have selected as well. So when you have experience given, it levels up the string and it levels up their bonuses. So let's go ahead and talk about the strings themselves. At the top of every string, you can see that we have a note or a string that we can select. The C note, D note, E note, F note, and G notes. So each of these have different bonuses in 2 ways. If we select adjust strings and then we click on the note itself, it tells you all of the information you need. For the C note, it creates an amount of the note that you're tuned to. So we're tuned to the natural note right now. We can select that. So it's going to generate this note when we strum the strings. And there's more to that in just a minute. But the other thing it does is the level bonus itself. So as we level up the C note here, then it's going to give you a bonus, which is for this one, harp note gain as a percentage. So this multiplies how many notes that you get based on your harp power times the number of strings that you have. Basically, your harp power times all of your bonuses gives you how many notes you're going to get from strumming one string. Not all of them, it's per string, okay? So keep that in mind that the strings can be selected individually. To do this, you're simply clicking on the letter itself, and that is allowing you to cycle through which string you want or which note you want to have on which string. You can mix match this and change this around to whatever you want to do, or you can select all of them at the same time. But one of the big things to keep in mind is there are multipliers for stringing across the entire set of strings that you have. So the note that you have on the last one is the most significant one, because you get a multiplier based on how many strings you strum to the last one. So every one that I string gives me a 25% bonus to the very last string. So a little bit more on that when we get to explaining the bonuses from the engineer. But for now, each of the notes can be selected individually, and you can select to strum just one string at a time and change which notes you want to strum across between each string that you strum. So keep in mind that this is very min-maxy early on, and eventually becomes more about generating big numbers. So it is a resource generation mini game here. So it is about spending your resources effectively to upgrade your bonuses to keep getting the most, and back and forth. Okay. So C note gives you how many notes that you're getting per string, plus a level bonus for harp note gain. D note gives you a chance at finding an opal as the reward for stringing, or for strumming your strings. This is a very, very small percentage, and then it's multiplied based on your harp power. So it does get to a decent chance to find an opal with enough harp power, but it's going to be very difficult to get opals from this at the start. So for me right now, I've only found 4 opals, and this was with getting my D string to about level 20 is the last time that I used it. So stringing across them pretty regularly, I had 2 or 3 strings tuned to D, and I got about 4 opals from it, to give you an idea of how rare they are. Other than that, it also gives you a multiplier to your harp note gain as well. So early on, you do want to balance leveling up the C and D notes. The easiest way to do this is to have 2 or 3 strings, or, you know, 1 string tuned to C, 1 to D, you know, and then kind of balancing that metric. After that, you have the E note, and the E note gives doesn't do anything. However, it does give you more harp power per hour, which is going to change the math on how much harp power that you get. So leveling this up fairly early and balancing the level between E, D, and C is pretty important. However, don't get too crazy with this, because if you can unlock the G note, it will make it very easy to level this up, and we'll show you that in just a second. The F note is another note generation. However, this time it generates a smaller amount of the note, so 7 million of the tune, and also to the notes next to it. So if we turn this off, you can see that the quaver note is next to the 8th note and also to the sharp note. So if I'm tuned to the quaver note, it's going to generate 7.3 million of all 3 of those notes. So keep in mind that if you're needing multiples of different types of notes, this is a way that you can do it. However, this is about 4 times less notes in general. So you have 7.4 million, you got 28 million. So about 1/4 of the total notes that you get from C, but you do get, you know, 3 different notes. So you're generating 3/4 of your total potential to be able to spread them out and be able to kind of min-max getting multiple different types of notes. So the level bonus from this is, again, harp note gain, so it is important to balance out as well. Next up is the G note, the melodic twine. This gives you experience to all of your strings. As you can see, it's a significant amount of experience, as this is per string. So if I have all of mine tuned to G, then this is giving me, let's see, what is that math? 161,000 times 7 on the experience per hour. Plus I have the engineer schematic that gives me an additional 25%. So 150% multiplier to this. So a little, what, 380,000 experience, something like that, on the last string. So I probably could get a full level on all of my notes from stringing across this right now, from strumming across all 7 notes. The last thing is the level bonus, which is the gives you more string EXP. So basically this is a multiplier to how much experience you're getting, but this also works for if you've selected, the level bonus works for if you've selected a different note. So you're still going to generate more experience by leveling up the G note, but the main thing is this levels up all of your strings So you're able to balance out all of your strings very easily by spending some of your harp power, um, if you wait every day, if you do this about every 3 days and give it like 12 hours of harp power, you're going to be generating a lot of experience, which is going to multiply all of your level bonuses and give you more notes, more harp power per hour, more string experience because it levels up itself. So it's a very good string to help balance out the rest of your harp. So at this point, the main thing that we're looking for is generating enough notes to be able to level up our other bonuses that we have. So we want to select basically the C note for the most of the time. This is going to generate the most notes for you. And then you want to spin this resource into your engineer schematics, into your measurement bonuses to be able to level up how much note per hour, how many notes per hour, and how much harp experience per hour that you're generating. So let's go ahead and go back to the camp and look at some of those bonuses. So the first bonuses are from the engineer, and this is how we're going to unlock strings as well as some of the other things. So the first bonus is loaded harp, which adds 1 more string to the harp. Right away, it's basically taking you from 3 strings to 4, which is giving you another 30% more gains on your harp. After that, the next one is unlocking the E string, which is giving you, the bonuses from it, which is generating more harp power per hour. Keep in mind that the base is 1 experience per 100% harp power. So without the other multipliers, it is very slow to level these things up, but that's all right. Next up, we do have the stringy effect. Strings give 15% more. So it's just a straight multiplier for more notes and experience, and for the opal, everything. After that, we have packed harp to give you another string. And then the domino effect, which is what I talked about a lot, which is giving me 20% more string plucked during the strum. So basically you have 5 strings. So the first 4 are giving you, 20%, 20%, 20%, and then the last one's giving you that last 20% and doubling your harp power. So with 7 strings, that's 140% multiplier. Sorry, my math was a little bit off earlier. But it is a significant bonus to that very last string that you have, and the more strings you have, the more significant it is. After that, we have unlocking the F string, which we already talked about what they do. It's a very similar thing. And then next up is the G's string, which is giving you the ability to level up the rest of your strings a lot easier. The last bonus that I've currently unlocked in the harp is 1 more additional string. This plus the Conjurer bonuses to give you more strings is giving me a total of 7 strings right now. I believe 9 is the current cap. There may be one at a higher engineer level that I haven't unlocked yet, but so 9 strings times that multiplier is giving me 180% bonus if I get the last 2 strings unlocked. Next up is the Measurer bonuses, and there are 2 big bonuses here, at least until level 9. So the first is going to be the Harp Note Gain, which requires notes to be spent, but then it multiplies on your slab. So for me, I've leveled this up to level 86 for a total of 1,032% Harp Note Gain, multiplied by my slab items to give me a total of 3,430% more harp notes. Now, this is the thing. You're going to want to string your C string as much as possible on this note to be able to level up how many notes that you're gaining as much as possible. And then when you need the resource, when you need the specific resource for a schematic or to level up the harp experience or something like that, you're going to be able to do that much easier because of the multiplier on your harp note gain is so significant from the measurer. The next bonus is at the level 7 bonus, which gives you more harp string experience. This requires more of the sharp notes. This is a significant multiplier, 1,100 and 1,144% harp string experience multiplied by your total account level. which giving me a little over 4.5 thousand harp string experience. So keep in mind that level 9 of the measurer is very similar to level 4 here. That gives me more harp note gain, but level 9 is a higher multiplier as well. So leveling up your measurer to a higher level as soon as possible is really going to help with your note generation for the harp. So as you can see, this is back and forth between leveling up the measurer and leveling up the harp itself. Spending the C notes on the measure, leveling up the G string to give you more overall levels is also giving you more harp gain. This is just a resource management and resource generation minigame. The last bonus to mention comes from the bell. We already looked at this a little bit earlier, but it does give you harp note gains from leveling up the bell as well. So that's just one more bonus to keep multiplying that resource generation for you. Next up is Cavern number 7, which is the lamp. The lamp is a daily resource generation for some pretty significant things to the hole itself. This is something that is going to take a lot of time for most people, but there are different bonuses to help out. So the lamp is based off of wishes. You generate wishes every day based on all of the other multipliers from the measurer, from the conjurer itself, and from the wish system itself. So basically you generate a number of wishes every day, and then you get to choose where you spend them. Initially, you're only going to have one wish, which is to get more wishes. So you spend wishes to unlock new bonuses, such as another try, 1 million opals, and bring them back. So you generate a very finite number of wishes to be able to spend. Every bonus or every wish that you unlock is going to cost more than the last. It starts out at like 1 wish, and then it becomes 4 or 6, something like that. And then it becomes 16 very quickly. So it does get up to be very expensive very quickly. The next thing is going to be another try. You have 2 options currently on this, which is resetting all opals invested, which allows you to basically take out all of your opals from your villagers and reinvest them to be able to generate the experience per hour on different villagers at a more efficient pace. So you're going to want to save up your wishes to do this at particular times. However, you need to decide what that time is for you based on your progress. The biggest thing that I can say is, for example, unlocking Cavern 9 or 10, depending on where you want to stop, then resetting all of your opals to invest them all into the engineer or into the measurer to be able to get up to level 20 or 25 on the engineer, and then, maybe pushing to level 10 or 12 on the measurer, depending on what bonuses are currently available. I don't know where it stops right now. Level 10 is the highest I've seen on the measurer, and I think I've seen 16 or 17 on the engineer so far, and I'm sure there's quite a bit more available than that. So resetting your opals is going to be a big deal to generate enough experience per hour at later stages. But other than that, I can imagine doing a reset for whenever the new caverns are unlocked from like 11 to 15, then dumping 120 opals into the explorer to unlock them all in a couple days. Sounds a lot more ideal than a month of grinding at 20 or 30 opals to unlock the different caverns. The next thing is resetting the conjurer points. Again, we've talked about this in the previous guide, that the resetting your conjurer points to go into some very specific Idleon magic bonuses to be able to generate more forge capacity or more multi-ore logs to be able to resample, those kinds of bonuses, and then being able to reset once again back into the hole magic and stuff to be able to really continue progressing in the hole. So resetting is going to be a very common thing. And as you can see, I currently am generating 4.86 wishes a day. At first, it's like 1 wish a day, so it seems like it's going to take a very long time. But as you level up the measurer and the bell, then you're going to be able to generate more wishes and make this where basically you can reset every day if you want to, or maybe even more frequently than that. So, and then you can also stack these wishes up. You can save up, 12 or 15, go resample, and then, reset, set everything up to resample, and then come back and reset it back into the hole. So depending on what you want to do, there's a lot of ways that you can really make this another try really significant for your progress in the hole. After that, you have 1 million opals. This is an opal generation thing. The first one costs you 1 wish for 1 opal. Then it becomes 4 wishes for 1 opal. I definitely don't want to spend it on this because 1 opal isn't going to change the game for me. But you know, if I'm generating 4 a day and I've got a couple days where I'm waiting on the engineer to level up or something, then maybe I can generate 1 or 2 more fairly easy. After that, the last one that I've currently unlocked is Bring Them Back. Bring Them Back is basically granting you 12 hours of AFK time to the monument. Currently it's just the bravery monument. It looks like this is set up to add arrows for if there are more monument like statues. That way we may be able to switch back and forth to throw, you know, some AFK time without sacrificing our characters there. This is only costing 2 wishes at a time right now, so I don't know if that scales or not. To me, this hasn't been worth it yet, but this may be a way that we can generate AFK time without, you know, jailing our characters at a specific monument. But that is pretty much it for the lamp, and we're going to talk about some of the bonuses really quick. The first one is going to be in the camp at the measurer. Once again, this is going to give us more daily lamp wishes. So for me, this is a 74.8% more daily lamp wishes. This is multiplied by the crops that you found. There's currently 160 crops available. So this is kind of the maximum multiplier that we have. This is giving me 267% daily wishes. That is a significant amount more wishes than I can get at base. Then we also have the bonus from the Hole Magic, which is giving us up to 90% additional wish at the lamp every day. So 267% plus the 90% is 357%. And then lastly, back in the hole, we have the bell. And the bell is also generating a small amount of daily lamp wishes as well. So with all of this added up, it is giving me very, very close to 5 wishes a day. And I feel like I could push this up to 6 with, you know, some effort, but relatively easily. And moving on to Cavern 8 now, we have the Hive. The Hive is very, very similar to the Motherlode, except this is now catching. So you're going to use your archer-based classes to catch flies to unlock different layers of the Hive. This is very similar in the fact that it requires a small amount of catching efficiency at first to gather a small amount of bugs, and as you harvest the Hive layers, it's going to scale up with needing more bugs and more catching efficiency to be able to catch said bugs. So the first 5 or 10 levels are fairly easy depending on how much skill efficiency you have, and then it gets significantly harder. This is also very similar that it generates 1 opal per Hive layer that we destroy. So this is all about your outside of the whole skilling efficiency. The more efficiency you have, the more layers you're going to be able to destroy and the more bonuses that you're going to get. Currently at this point, the only bonuses that we've unlocked from the engineer are the 2 that give you more skill efficiency from the Hive, as well as the skill efficiency from the Motherlode. And then the only bonus that is directly affected by the Hive is the Fractalfly and Harp Synergy to give you a 10% multiplier to your Harp note production based on how many layers of the Hive you destroyed. So this is really going to help out your Harp, your note gain. And then I hope to see more bonuses from the Hive as we get through this. This is going to give us, you know, more opals, which is going to allow us to progress faster through the levels of the Engineer, Measurer, Explorer, and such. So other than that, let's go ahead and move on into Cavern 9. Next up is Cavern 9. This is the Grotto. This is currently the last cavern that actually has bonuses and content available in it. Cavern 10 is technically unlockable. However, there's nothing else we can do in there at this stage. So Cavern 9 is similar to the Dog Den in that this is a fighting cavern. So come with your combat gear equipped. This cavern is about killing a significant number of mobs. So you're really worried about your kill percentages here. So doing enough damage but also killing enough of the mobs. Respawn mechanics do not work on this from the Bubonic Conjurer or the Divine Knight. However, the Siegebreaker's Pirate Flag does work for respawning the mobs. The big thing here is going to be equipping enough mob respawn to be able to continue having these mobs respawning, plus the Pirate Flag. This gives you the chance at getting plunderous mobs, and that gives you the chance at basically continuing the cycle. Also, you want as much multi-kill percentage as you can possibly get, as they do have a decent amount of health at 2.5 billion health, so even with a significant amount of damage, you're not going to be killing a lot of them per hour. Multi-kill does work on active characters, so using the Siegebreaker is currently the go-to choice. This works very similar to the Hive as well, in that there is layers. You need to kill enough mushrooms to be able to challenge the Monarch, and every time you kill the Monarch, you get an opal. So this allows you to generate more opals, but also allows you to continue fighting on an active character to kill enough mushrooms. Now, mushrooms in here do actually have drop chances and can spawn crystal mobs. The big things that it does is, one is it drops a new card for us in World 5, which is the Gloomy Mushroom, that gives you more village EXP as a passive card, and they have a chance at dropping the new Dragon Warrior statue. This statue is a very, very low drop rate, so you're going to need a lot of them and a lot of time in this cavern to be able to onyx the statue. But let's go ahead and switch over to a Siegebreaker and kind of show you how this mechanic works. I do currently have the buff up for the Pirate Flag, as well as having the plunderous kills, so this is going to go a little bit easier for me. As you can see, I'm already generating the skull coins, which is going to add to the flag in just a minute and get mobs respawning. Crystal mobs are spawning for the crystal drops, so you're going to be able to generate golden foods and potions and things that the crystal mobs drop. But the main thing we're looking for are these Dragon Warrior statues. We do need a lot of them for onyxing it, and then a lot of them to level it up itself. So far, this is probably 3 or 4 days of statue farming for me. With the current stats that you see, about 37% or 37 times drop rate, having a little over 22 QQ damage, and the way that you want to set this up is having everything from mob respawn as well as multi-kill. So as much damage as you can, the mob respawn pendants and damage multipliers, the World 5 rings for 30% more kills. Your special equipment you want to set up with more mob respawn, more damage and drop chances, also good. Your card should be something similar to this. I haven't found an actual I have not found the actual optimal setup for my cards yet. I'm using a combination of drop rate, multi-kill, basically drop rate and multi-kill to get the most out of it right now. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but I haven't been able to quite figure that out yet. At 280% multi-kill and 264% drop rate currently on this character. So you want to set this up to generate enough cards. So use your snapshotting to generate cards, and also, more multi-kill and damage. So we've killed plunderous mobs here, and it just keeps killing. This is the only way that I found to be effective for killing the mobs. And then when you can kill the, couple 100,000 mushrooms to be able to challenge the boss, you want to, the boss's HP will continue to go up, and the mushrooms left will continue to go up. However, the base mobs these mobs, the gloomy mushrooms, their HP does not change. So don't be afraid of fighting and killing new layers, but definitely try to generate as many opals as you can from this. As for the Dragon Warrior statues, the bonus that you get from this is a percentage multiplier to all statue bonuses. So you definitely want to level this up, as it's going to affect everything else in the game basically because of the way statues work. So I have deposited a total of 20 dragon statues to get at level 14 at this point, with all of the other statues onyxed, all of the other bonuses. So for a 6% bonus with 20 statues deposited is pretty good. And then as we can onyx the statue, then we're going to multiply their bonus by a double, and we're going to give 10% more statue points to level this up even easier and level your other statues up even easier. Keep in mind that you still will need to spend the resources to golden statue all of these so that it multiplies across all of your characters. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button and drop a comment if you're enjoying our videos. And a huge shout out to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. If you would like to become a patron, check out the link in the description for more details. And be sure to visit our merch store so you can get some pretty cool stuff. If you have any thoughts or questions, let us know down below, and we'll see you next time.